Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we take a whole stack of information, boil it down, and give you those key nuggets of knowledge so you can get up to speed fast. Today, we're really digging into some critical commentary that came out around the Russia investigation. We've got a specific source here. It's an audio clip from a congressional hearing. The file is Trey Gowdy lays into Rod Rosenstein and FBI Director Christopher Wray.mp3. So you hear former Congressman Trey Gowdy in this, known for, well, pretty tough oversight, laying out his critique. Our mission really is to unpack this perspective, focusing on how long the investigation took, who it targeted, and maybe the biggest point, these accusations of perceived bias inside the FBI and DOJ. We'll look at the specific points Gowdy raises, the concerns there, and sort of what this viewpoint means for how we think about these really big, high-profile investigations. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really striking about this source is you get this very direct take on just how complicated things got, the criticisms that were flying around. It's a really detailed critique focusing on certain parts of the investigation, starting, interestingly, with just how long these things went on.
Right. So the timeline is point number one for this source. At the time this commentary was made, the whole Russia thing had been going for what, almost 2 years?
Nearly 2 years. And the special counsel part specifically had been running for over a year itself.
And the goal, as the source lays it out, was pretty clear. Figure out what Russia did back in 2016. And did they work with anyone? Simple question.
Sounding simple, yeah.
But the sheer length of time it took to answer that, well, according to this viewpoint, that became a major issue in itself.
And a key part of the argument where the source really pivots is the choice of Peter Strzok. He was a top FBI counterintelligence agent at the time. He was picked to lead the FBI's first look into Russia, which started back in late July 2016.
Yeah, the source calls it a chance of a lifetime for an agent, right? A huge case.
Exactly. But then the source immediately contrasts that with what it claims were Strzok's personal views. It presents him as being, well, very critical of Donald Trump.
Okay, so this is where the argument really starts to build, you know. The source points out that right when he got picked for this super sensitive investigation, this supposedly dispassionate and fair FBI agent was allegedly, in private messages, calling Trump a disaster, saying he was destabilizing, maybe even using stronger words.
Right.
So from the source's angle, how does that alleged private feeling square with the public trust you need in an investigator?
Well, the source basically argues it fundamentally undermines that trust. The expectation is impartiality, right? That's key for law enforcement. And it doubles down on this by bringing up an alleged text exchange he had with FBI lawyer Lisa Page. She reportedly texted him something like, "You were meant to protect the country." And Strzok's alleged reply, according to the source, was, "I can protect the country at many levels." The source reads that as hinting at maybe a personal mission beyond just neutral investigation.
And it goes further, doesn't it? The source talks about alleged discussions, something about an insurance policy.
Yes, an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Reportedly discussed between Strzok, Lisa Page, and Andrew McCabe, who was the deputy director then.
Yeah.
This was supposedly in case Donald Trump actually won the presidency.
Wow. And there's more. The source claims Strzok said he could, quote, smell the Trump support in Southern Virginia, and used, well, a very strong expletive to describe what a Trump presidency would be, expressing deep worry, and allegedly saying it will never happen. No, we'll stop it. I mean, those are incredibly potent allegations.
Extremely potent.
So what's the weight of that insurance policy phrase in this critique?
Well, for this source, that phrase, especially combined with those other alleged comments, it's presented as really strong evidence of a pre-existing bias, more than just bias, maybe an intent to actively try and stop a specific political outcome.
So moving beyond just opinion to potential action.
That's how the source frames it, yes. Like it wasn't just personal views, but a perceived desire to intervene. And the source asserts that for, maybe half a dozen FBI agents and lawyers on the case, it stopped being just about Russia. It became, in this view, an investigation to stop Donald Trump, which, if true, completely reframes the whole thing from foreign interference to alleged internal politics.
Okay, then fast forward. May 2017, Robert Mueller gets appointed special counsel. Then the source highlights that Peter Strzok is, well, back in the picture, involved in that investigation too.
Right, and you might think, okay, now the focus is squarely on foreign interference, right? That's the mandate.
But according to this account, right when Mueller was appointed, Strzok was allegedly talking about his unfinished business.
Unfinished business, yeah. And how he, quote, needed to fix and finish it so Donald Trump did not become president. Again, this is all according to the source's account of alleged communications.
Which seems to suggest, from this critical viewpoint, a continuing personal agenda, right?
That's the implication drawn by the source. And what it finds particularly notable is the claim that within just 3 days of Mueller being appointed, 3 days, the lead FBI agent assigned was allegedly already talking about impeachment.
3 days. Wow.
The source presents this as faster than even, the media or other political opponents were discussing it. It underscores the source's view that there was this perceived rush to judgment, this ingrained bias right from the start of the special counsel's work.
Okay, so let's pull back a bit. What does all this mean, this specific critique we've been diving into? We've looked deep into a really powerful argument, one viewpoint, obviously, on the Russia investigation. It heavily emphasizes these concerns about perceived bias within the FBI and DOJ. We heard these specific allegations centered on Peter Strzok, his alleged anti-Trump statements, the whole insurance policy discussion, and this idea of unfinished business, maybe even pushing for impeachment almost immediately after Mueller was appointed.
Yeah, and if you connect that to the bigger picture, this critique raises a really significant question for everyone, I think. What happens? What's the impact when an investigation that's supposed to be about protecting national security from foreign threats starts being seen by some people, because of critiques like this, as maybe an internal political tool?
Right.
The source material really hammers this idea that a criminal investigation became political, that it ended up dividing the country. It even asserts, quote, Russia isn't being hurt by this investigation right now. We are. This country is being hurt by it.
That's a strong statement.
Very. And it includes this call to just, show the evidence, wrap it up, conclude the investigation quickly.
It definitely gives you a lot to chew on. Thinking about the challenges, the real inherent difficulties in these massive investigations, especially when they crash right into our, deeply polarized politics. This deep dive really laid out a strong argument from one particular side, highlighting those complexities and the calls for accountability.
Absolutely. And maybe just a final thought, something provocative perhaps for you to consider. We have that old saying, right? Justice delayed is justice denied. So in that context, what are the wider implications for public trust, for a country's ability to kind of come together when these really high-stakes investigations drag on, face these accusations of bias, and maybe don't seem to reach a clear public conclusion or present all the evidence for a long time? What does that do?
A really important question to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We definitely encourage you to reflect on these points and maybe, look into the broader context surrounding these events yourself.